Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to get into a little topic of discussion, which you see right in front of you, about AI, specifically in the creative space, in the space for using it as a tool, in the space of using it for like more so, like I said, I would say the internet, in terms of YouTube, in terms of Instagram, so all those video platforms, all those kind of things like that. What does it mean for the future? How is this affecting things? I seen another content creator post some thoughts on it, and they were kind of piggybacking off of someone else who's throwing some comments on it. And I just wanted to kind of dive into a space from an angle of seeing like just where this is taking things, how this is going to affect the future, and what's it going to mean? Is it a positive? Is it negative? So jumping right into it, I would say that this is definitely a lot. So I myself wanted to get a little bit more familiar with things like ChatGPT, which I see a lot of people use often, who have really dived into that. I'm a little late to the party with it. A lot of AI generating devices for images and things of that sort also as well. But I would say ChatGPT, I used to always say BT, it's PT, ChatGPT. Very much being the main staple, probably I would say, being the most popular and one of the earliest ones, so it's probably the highest developed. I think it's a great tool when it comes to things like, say, you want to write documents and it can clean up some of the things that you want to write. I've seen people use it for the purpose of creative writing, which can be a little bit of like on one hand, it could get a lot of mistakes out of the writing you would do. So it could be your own thoughts. Like you might tell it to write something, and you give a lot of descriptive aspects to it. And the fact that you put a lot of description into it gives way to say, well, you put in that work to a large degree, and it will probably write out a few things. Like say if you used it to make a paragraph, but if you dictated a long thing. So say if, for example, you will say, take like a movie, for example. Say if I'm writing a story and I'm going to pull from a movie, just assume, say if this is my original story and I'm writing a movie, we'll say something like, I don't know, Jurassic Park. And in chapter 1 of my book, I go, write a chapter, a 3-page or a 5-page chapter maybe of a man who is wealthy, and he finds this way to create dinosaurs through DNA, and he, blah, 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 blah. I walk through the whole passage of pretty much kind of what you see in the intro of Jurassic Park. He needs to hire some paleontologists, some lawyers. He needs to do all this stuff to get everything underway. And then from that point, he picks them up at the dig site, brings them over to his park. They have the first time seeing their park. If I do all that talking, and then it cleans it up and puts it into, like say a 3 to 5 page, however many pages it has to be, maybe not something super long, but what I'm getting at is, say if it's like maybe a 5-page long chapter, but I narrated almost like a half a page worth of narration, you could, for the most part, say, I created that. To a large degree, you could say I created it. I just skipped some of the small details that would have taken me extra long, but I didn't. But the AI didn't create the story elements for me. It just simply cleaned a lot of things up and put it in a way that was like going to be a little more polished and without error. And then I probably, as a writer, would then go over it, read it, go over it, change a few things I don't like. So that using something in a tool like that, I don't think is necessarily bad. In that aspect, you can still say you wrote something. It gets a little funny when you say write a full story and it's wrote a full story. Or, you might use it to, some people use it for things like documents. Maybe they got a professional document that has to be written up. They'll say, write this in this form. Maybe it's a legal document. Write it legal wise, like as if I am a lawyer. If it's like maybe a letter to a boss or supervisor or something related to work, you might say, write this in a professional manner. So, that way when you give it away, it looks like a professional wrote it. So there's that. So as these tools, it really is something that I think is a positive. it starts kind of overwhelming us right now in the fact that it's also able to cheat around the skills and the hard work that some people do, and it's starting to kind of really evolve. And I had this discussion with some friends the other night, and about, is it a good thing, is it a bad thing, and what do you see for it? So here's kind of where the discussion went. It went from the fact that a little bit before that, I was watching a video that was, like I said before, commenting about AI and stuff like that and where it's taking things. And they showed how there was a YouTuber or content creator. I don't know if they're YouTube. They could have been Instagram, one of those things, one of those video content creators. And it was a female who was made up. She wasn't even real. And she sang like, I'm real. But she was essentially doing one of those kind of follow my life type of, narrations, one of those kind of video reels, or however you call it, whatever the phrase is called nowadays. But one of those kind of follow my life type of narration type of things. This is what I'm doing, blah, blah, nonsense stuff, but nonetheless, follow my life type of content. And the part about it is whether someone wants to follow that content or not, that's on them, that's fine. The part about it that was crazy was this is not a real person. They were AI generated, and you could have literally had some person, some guy in his basement who's writing this, who's making this, because maybe he's good at navigating AI and putting this together. Because obviously you got to formulate some kind of script in your mind, and where you're going to take it, put the time in. So it's not like it takes no work, but at the same time too, it's false content in that you are creating a person who doesn't even exist. You have people following them, and this person doesn't exist. Now, I'm not going to get into the other deep, dark holes that you can come through from that, in things like maybe making this person do crazy things that gets followers to kind of think they could do it too, because this person looked young, somewhere between like late teen to maybe early to mid 20s. And, you could end up having people follow and do crazy things that this person is getting to do. We're not going to even get into that discussion. But just on the standpoint that you have content creators who are out there putting in the work, even if the content is follow my life type of work, and you might think it's mindless, you might think it's pointless. The point is someone's actually putting the time in. So at least the reward where they do get a bunch of subscribers to them, regardless of what you think of the content, at least they put in that time. It's different when you have a person who's made up completely and they don't even exist. And then now someone's doing this for the purpose of just getting money, which is what the content creators are doing anyway. But it's different when there's a person behind it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it starts eliminating someone actually having maybe the craft or the boldness, because it takes a skill to even be able to put yourself on camera and talk to an audience and gain the gift of gab, gain that confidence to be in front of a camera, figuring all that out. Whereas you'll have someone who's AI generated and not even, they're not even real. Then there's also the applications that you might see a lot now, where somebody will be telling a story, and I see a lot of this happening now, probably old stories that were told many times before by celebrities, but now a person, a content creator, whoever, will take that story, re-narrate it, but they're not going to tell it from the voice of the celebrity who was telling it. They're going to tell it from like a third person telling the story, but they're going to put they're going to put like images. Most of the time it's usually, some of them are video images, like AI generated video images. Some of them are still frames, but it'll be of the celebrity in a situation. And though they don't look realistic, they're more like hyper realistic or almost like a video game type of realism. But nonetheless, it's still a way of like piggybacking on something and telling a story and obviously getting paid for it. And so that is an application that AI is being used for. Now, mind you, I'm just saying things that the AI is what's happening for the future right now. I'm not trying to say it from a perspective of good or bad. It's just what's happening. In addition, one of the conversations that came up, which was funny, so this might be something to laugh at a little bit, was that obviously it's going to affect down the line. It's going to end up affecting things like celebrities who, their likeness And once AI gets to the point where it's so realistic, which some of them already are, because like I said, the one that where it had some young girl who was doing follow my life type of content creation was not even a real person, but it looked completely real. You wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. That will eventually become something that happens for celebrities where you won't, where say somebody like, we'll say Bruce Willis, who no longer is able to do movies, will be able to, someone like him at least, I don't know if he would do this, but someone like him would be able to sell their image, their younger image, their able body image, maybe when they were 30 years old, and say, that's my likeness. I'm gonna now be, my likeness is now sold. So in this case, keeping with this example, you wouldn't see Bruce Willis in a movie. You would see his AI generated 30-year-old version always being the action star for the next, maybe, say, I don't know how long he's gonna live, but say hypothetically, they could have him on some, life support that was on wheels, and he sits in his mansion and he maybe not have a whole bunch of mobility, but he's able to still stay alive for another additional, we'll say like 25 years. He could still be getting paid millions of dollars doing action movies because his AI is out there at 30 years old doing action movies, no longer hiring jobs to the new actors trying to come into play, because you'll have an AI version of him, you have an AI version of Stallone, you have an AI version of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it will be like, it'd be crazy because, like I said, you would have these actors who are no longer aging when it comes to playing movies. So that is something that will probably definitely come, especially when it comes to movies that need to make prequels, or, a movie takes a long time to finish a series. Like we'll say like Fast and the Furious 10, something like that, where it ran for, what is it? Oh, well over 10 years now. I think 15 years now or longer than that. I think it's been almost 25 years. Actually, I think the first one came out in 2001, maybe somewhere in that range. I don't know. So you'd be able to say, well, I don't want the story to last 25 years. I want the story to have been in a time span of maybe 5 years. Well, then in that case, we'll just use the AI version of people, and that way they can look a little younger. So that way we don't have to say 25 years passed. We could say it was just the other day. Or so, for example, take the movie Bad Boys. When they finally came back to do a part 3, it was so many years later that they had to say these guys like 20 years passed. But with AI, you don't have to say that. You could say, well, this is a year later from the previous movie. Even if the previous movie was 20 years ago, you could say, we're continuing just 2 years later, and make the main characters look, for the most part, the same. So that is what AI is going to do in terms of the acting field. But even furthermore, though, you will also have it in the realm of, and this was a part of the conversation that we dived into also, you'll also have it in, obviously, the sex industry when it comes to things like OnlyFans. And this part is where it's going to get kind of funny. Some people are going to kind of view it as almost like a balancing scale to the fact that, people were having easy money, and now this is going to like be able to bite that whole concept in the ass a little bit. But it's like what you're going to end up having now is you're going to have guys who are very tech savvy. They're going to probably end up making, because like I said, the AI just got to the point you can make realistic looking females that, people in general, I'm sorry. But obviously when it comes to the OnlyFans market, we all know that it's just women who are really the ones up there. You don't really have men showing themselves, because no, women aren't going to pay for that, but men are going to pay for that from women. So obviously, with that being the obvious, me and a few of my friends made the talking point that what you would end up having is some guys who are probably sitting in their basement munching on chicken wings and cookies, and they are going to know the computer so well and now that what they're going to do is they are going to create probably multiple OnlyFans characters. Maybe each person might create like 10 females, depending on just the likeness that they know different people want. And that person is going to look realistic. That person's going to be able to do all these things that a real person probably wouldn't even do. things that are over the top, and they're going to be able to undercut an actual OnlyFans person because they're like, well, I'm not physically doing these things. I'm just typing in some things in a computer so it can AI generate this. So they might say, well, if this, person is charging, I don't know what OnlyFans charges, so I'm just going to come up with a random number. Say if they're charging like $100 for like a video clip, we'll say, I don't know. This person would be able to say, I'm going to charge $25 for a video clip, which undercuts all the rest of the real people. And he says, I could do that because at the same time, I've already generated maybe 3 additional females, so a total of 4, that each one is getting me $25 per video clip, which he's now making $100. But it was easier for him to make that AI generated than it was for the actual person to do their show and have to respond to people. In addition, this person will have the AI maybe, able to respond to people or do what maybe they're behind a computer in real time. And the guy's like typing and making it happen as it goes along. Who knows? My point is that as it gets evolved more, it will completely obliterate that space and that will be gone. You're also going to have it to where it's like, obviously, we spoke about things like it going into things like medical fields. Maybe AI will, because you can actually talk to it as well. I was never too familiar with how that worked. It doesn't work similar to like, say, a Siri or a Google assistant. It almost, like a friend of mine was showing me, and a lot of you guys who are more familiar with this would know this already. I'm not as familiar with it, but it was showing how you could talk to it and it will respond back to you, knowing everything about you. It learns about you. So when you say things like, hey, to the AI, like, what is it that I do and blah, blah, it will tell you what your job is. Because if you said it one time in the past, it remembers this and it creates this kind of data bank, similar to if you guys ever seen the movie Her. A guy played by Joaquin Phoenix starts to kind of fall for this AI and this computer who's played by Scarlett Johansson. But nonetheless, it's like it gets to a point where, it's communicating so fluidly with you that eventually you're going to also have where these things are able to detect things in terms of the medical fields also, where you might have a person who's got to detect, like, visually, look for like tumors or things like that on x-ray scans. You're going to instead have the AI that's able to detect it and know what that means better than the technician who has to like figure these out. And those jobs are also going to fade because you're going to have that where it's even more accurate than a person. You're just going to need to know the people who are able to, I guess, fix and make sure the AI is operating correctly. So you're going to have more like AI technicians are going to become more important than the actual what the AI is doing, the doctor role. Obviously, they can't replace surgery right now, but they will probably replace a lot of like the things where like maybe the surgeon will learn how to type in something in the AI and it will now do his assistant work rather than the assistant in terms of maybe, finding in, like I said, in an X-ray, in some kind of schematic chart, what the diagnosis is or what this particular thing is looking for better than a regular person would be able to. So it's definitely interesting of what's about to take place in the future and how all this stuff is getting started and what it's going to mean. First, it's going to hit a lot of smaller things first. It's going to hit a lot of bigger things later on. But what are your thoughts? If you guys don't mind putting that down below in the comments, do you think that AI is a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? What are some of the jobs you think it's going to replace? What are some of the things that you think it's going to attack first before, as far as versus what it's going to attack later on? Do you think that this is going to be something that causes great problems or not? And one of the topics we came up with too is that once you start eliminating certain jobs with AI, you are going to essentially end up having larger spread of homelessness because you're going to have less jobs that people are working, and therefore, we work from a civilization of our economy of you are bound by what you do. It kind of makes up who you are. Once you don't have that, who are you in society? And that's not to say that your value should be chopped down to just simply what your job is, but for the most part, that's how society works. So, what's that going to look like? So as always, you guys comment down below, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.